about to leave. Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking.
Okay, for this pattern, you're gonna need 2 skeins of Yarn Bee. I have Fresh Haven and Optic White. I'm not sure what this paint color is. I'm going to show you in a second. I don't remember. I don't have like the yarn label anymore. But this is a weight 4 yarn. It's made of tinsel, so you want to make sure you use tinsel, cotton, bamboo, or some kind of like cotton bamboo blend for this kind of top. It just works best in summer weather, so keep that in mind. The gauge on the back of this is 12 single crochets for 14 rows. That's a 4" by 4" gauge. So if you can find something with a similar gauge, that will be best. I used a 3.25mm hook for this, but I wanted to show you guys. I made the same thing with a 3.75mm hook. And the sizing was definitely different, as you can see here. So just know that if you go up a hook size, you're gonna have bigger holes. It's gonna be a little bit more holy and not as tightly stitched as a smaller hook. And then also obviously it's gonna be a little bit bigger. So just keep that in mind if you don't use the same hook size that I'm using. And then I'm gonna put the measurements for the cups up on the screen. I did an A, B cup, a C cup, and a D cup. And then if you needed larger sizes outside of that, you're gonna see how like each size increases when we get to that point. And I'll show you, and it's really, really easy, but we're all starting out with the same number of starting chains. So I'm going to start with pink. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a slip knot. Slip knot, and then we're going to chain 28. So 1, and you want to make these pretty tight. 6, 7. Okay, so you have your chain 28 to start, and now we are going to single crochet in the 3rd chain from hook. So not that one, but this 3rd chain. Or sorry, we're going to half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over. I'm going to yarn over and then stick in the 3rd chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, again yarn over, insert hook into the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, and this is a half double crochet, and you're gonna half double crochet in each stitch all the way down until you get to this very last chain, and then I'm going to show you guys what we do when we get here. Now that you've gotten to the end of your 28 chains, you should have 26 half double crochets that we've made here, and then 2 turning chains. So this is what it should look like, and we're at the last chain. And normally we would chain and turn and go back, but we're actually going to continue to go around, and we're going to half double crochet in the back side of our starting chain. So like here's the tail from where we started. So in this last stitch, we're going to make another half double crochet right into that last stitch. And then now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to make 2 more half double crochets into the same stitch. So 1, 2. And then as you can see, we've half double crocheted all the way up, and now we're starting to like turn, and we're gonna go in the back side here and make half double crochets in each stitch all the way down. So now we have 27 stitches on both sides because we have 2 in the last stitch, a chain 1, and then now we have 2. And then right here would be our third. Yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, fourth, and so on and so forth. And you're just gonna do the same thing and make sure that you're following it down over here. And another thing I like to do is just tuck the tail of the yarn right along the top, and then I just single crochet it, or sorry, half double crochet it right into my stitches when I'm stitching, and then that way I don't have to weave it in. If this confuses you or you're uncomfortable with it, just let your tail fall back. Don't worry about your tail. And then we can just weave it in later. But like I said, I like to keep it in there. It saves you a lot of trouble from having to weave it in later. So we're going to continue this, making the stitches on the back side of this chain until we get to the very end, and I'm going to show you guys what the next step is. Okay, once you get to the last stitch, what we're actually going to do is we're not going to pull all the way through the stitch. So if you did your last stitch, undo that one. What we're going to do is we're going to get ready to switch colors. So I'm going to get ready to switch to white. So on this last stitch, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, and normally we would yarn over and we would pull through all 3 loops on the hook, but what we're going to do is we're going to go grab our white yarn, our second color. If you're not switching colors, then don't worry about this part. So now we're going to just hook this yarn right here, and we're going to pull it through. And we're going to do that instead of yarning over and pulling through with our pink yarn, we're going to just pull through with our white yarn. And now with our white yarn, we're going to chain 1, chain 2, and then we're going to turn our work. And then what I also like to do is I like to take this tail of pink right here, and I like to just throw it in front, like I throw it over right here, just bring it in front and bring it up here, and I do that so that I can kind of carry it up the rows, and I'll show you guys again next time we switch colors so you can see that again more clearly how that's done. But we're going to just turn our work and start half double crocheting all the way up around until we get to the point where we did our chain 1 at the top, and I'll show you guys what to do there. So again, just half double crochet with your new color all the way around. Okay, now we're getting to like the top of here. We're going to keep doing our half double crochets and all of the half double crochet stitches. So there should be 27 that we've done so far right here. And then now we're at the chain 1 space right here at the top. This is where we chained 1 before we did 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets. Now in that chain 1 space right here, the space that we have the chain 1, we're going to do 2 half double crochets, chain 1. And we're going to do that every row where we put 2 half double crochets, chain 1, and then put 2 more right back in there. So 1, 2. And then now we're going to half double crochet right down in each stitch all the way along. And as you can see, our sort of like U-shaped top is starting to form. Oops, sorry. So we're gonna go down, and then I'm gonna show you guys 2 more rows, and then we're gonna skip ahead to the next step of this top. Okay, now we're at the end of this row. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to turn our work, And we're always gonna go down and around and back and then back around. So you're gonna do kind of 2 times with your color. You're gonna start here, you're gonna go down, then you're gonna go back. So you're always going to start and end on the same side with that color. So we're gonna chain 2 and we're gonna work half double crochets in each stitch all the way around. And again, I'll show you what we do when we get to the top point. Okay, and then again, we're at that chain 1 space right here, and I'm gonna do 2 half double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 more back into that same chain 1 space, and then I'm going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way down. So as you guys can see, this is the same pattern repeat every time. When you get to the point in the chain 1 space, you do 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets, and continue down. And I'll show you one more color change, and then we'll move on to the next step, and we'll talk about sizing a little bit at that point. Okay. Now, right now, when we get to the last stitch, as you guys notice, I did not cut off my pink yarn. I left it just kind of hanging. So we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop like we did before. And then now, instead of yarning over and pulling through with our white yarn, we're going to drop our white yarn. We're going to pick up our pink yarn, our second color, and we're going to pull through all 3 loops. And then we're going to throw our white yarn over across and then drop it behind. We're going to pull it behind here. And then we're just going to pick up our pink yarn and start our next row again. So we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and then we're going to half double crochet in each stitch, and we're going to continue working. We're going to go up and around, then back, and then switch colors again. And then as you can see, I just kind of carried this yarn right through here. I know it's hard to see, but I just carried this yarn up, and you can barely see on the bottom where I carried my colors. Here's it on the blue. You can kind of just see I carried them a little bit, but it's really not noticeable as long as you do that little trick I showed you. If you don't get what I'm saying when I said to bring the white yarn over and then drop it back down, I didn't do it for 2 rows. I wanted to show you guys what that would look like, and it just means you're going to have these little loops right here on the bottom. Like that's the little white loop and that's the little blue loop. And this could be on the inside of your top and no one will really notice. But I just wanted to show you kind of a way to hide the yarn in a way that wasn't really noticeable. But you're going to keep going around and switching colors just like we had been. If you're doing an A-B cup, then you're going to do 9 rows. You should have 42 stitches on either side. If you're going to do a C cup, you should do 11 rows. And if you're going to do a D cup, then you need to do 13 rows. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, and then we're working on our 4th row. So like I said, AB cup 9, C cup 11, D cup 13. And if you needed to increase your cup size at that point even farther, then obviously just continue adding rows 2 at a time. So you do 15, 17, 19, so on and so forth. So we're going to do a little TV magic. I worked ahead. Right here is the cup I was working on, and this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is an AB cup that I have right here. I have 9 rows across, starting in the middle and counting out. And what we're going to do is we're going to start this side panel that we have going on. Okay, so right here I'm using So I'm using my blue yarn, and I'm going through the first part of my half double crochet, dropping my blue yarn, picking up my white yarn and pulling through with the white, and then again I'm going to just drop this blue in front, let it fall under. I'm going to chain 2 just like we did every other row. I'm going to turn my work, and then now what we're going to do is we're going to half double crochet up the side to a certain point. For a B cup, you're going to want to half double crochet 23 stitches up, 25 for a C cup, and 27 for a D cup. If you increase it by 2 rows, you're going to want to stitch 2 more stitches up. So like if you did 15 rows, you're going to want to do 29. If you did 17 rounds, then you're going to want to do 31. So I'm going to stitch up 23 stitches before I stop and turn my work. So there's 1, 2, 3, 23. So now that I've gotten my 23 stitches that I've done up the side, I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, turn my work, and then I'm going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way back down. And then a little secret for anyone, no matter what cup size you do, you should be 19 stitches from the point of your cup to here, and that's where you're going to start your side panel. So it's 19 stitches from here to here is where you're going to start this, you're going to stop the side panel, I guess. So on stitch 20, you should be stopping right here. So that's just a little secret for no matter how many rows you do or don't do, 19 stitches from the top. But we're going to just continue to half double crochet right along. Okay, and then we're at the last stitch again right here. And we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, and then we're going to pick up our blue yarn, pull through with our blue, then we're going to loop our white yarn, this is blurry, we're going to loop our white yarn over and around, and we're going to let it fall, and then with our blue we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, turn our work, and then we're going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way up, and we're going to chain 2 and come back down. So basically what we're doing, we've started this panel, we're going to continue this until we have the row count that we want. So deciding how many rows you need to do right here is a little bit tricky because every cup size who has a different waist length size, for example, 32D and a 32A are going to have different side panel counts because the cup size adds to the width of the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little measurement chart up here, and this is going to be based purely on your waist size. So like if you're a 32A, 32B, 32C, etc. It doesn't matter. You're just going to measure, and you're going to try and stretch your garment as much as you can because unstretched, everyone should be relatively the same, but stretched, if you use a different type of yarn than me, if our tensions were slightly different, your stretched fabric measurement will be the most accurate, because if we're all stretching it as far as we can and then taking the measurement like you can see in the video above, that will give us the most accurate measurements. So these are what your approximate measures should be when you fully stretch out each panel itself to get the correct waist length. So it doesn't matter if you're an A cup, B cup, C cup, D cup, etc. Your panel length should be this much if your waist length or bra size is like a 32, 34, 36, etc. And this leaves a little bit of wiggle room because we will be lacing up the back of this top. So that's the best thing about tops that kind of lace up or tie, is that there's a little bit of wiggle room on the sizing. So if you're not making this for yourself, if you have the bra size of the person you're making it for, this gives you like a 2-inch grace of sizing, which is good. So when you do these panels, you just want to make sure that you do the same number of rows on both sides.
On my other one.
So measure your first one, get your row count that you like, and then do the same number of rows for your second cup.
Okay. I'm at the end of my last row. Like I said, you can do as many rows as you think you're gonna need. You can always tie back on and add more rows. So if you're gonna caution on the side of like error, then do less rows than you think you're gonna need, and then go back and add, 1 or 2 more rows as needed. So we're gonna tie off. Also keep in mind, if you use like the larger hook size, like this one's made larger hook size, this one has a lot more stretch than the smaller hook size. So also keep that in mind as well. So now we have 2 panels, and there's 2 options for seaming. In the pictures you've seen at the beginning, you see that there's one more additional row of white that goes up to about here. And that gives you the white stripe in between these twos. But the other thing that it does is it makes this top a little bit more showy, I guess, a little bit more open. More cleavage is exposed. So if you want to have a little bit more of like a modest top, you would want to do this option. So I'll show you the, actually no, I'm going to show you the original option first. So that is getting the white stripe in between to continue our pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie on, we're going to choose, it doesn't matter which cup. You want to make sure that your wrong sides are facing up right now. And we're going to just choose one cup. We're going to tie on. Okay, we're going to tie on, and we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And then we're going to pick up our second cup, and in the first stitch on the bottom, we're going to half double crochet. So we're going to half double crochet right here. Oops, yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, half double crochet. Okay. And then now what I'm going to do is turn my work, so I'm working the top like this, and I'm going to go back to the first one, to the top, to the cup that we tied onto, and I'm going to half double crochet. So yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then I'm going to go back to the second cup, and I'm going to half double crochet. Then I'm going to go back to the first cup, half double crochet in the next stitch, back to the second cup, half double crochet. So basically what we're doing is we tied on to this cup, half double crocheted in the first stitch here, half double crocheted in the second stitch here, half double crocheted in the second stitch here, half double crocheted in the third stitch here,
half double crocheted in the 3rd stitch. So now we're going to do 4th stitch, 4th stitch, 5th stitch, 5th stitch, 6th stitch, 6th, all the way up. And we're going to do this for as many rows as you feel comfortable. I'm going to do about the same as this back panel. So I'm going to have that kind of go straight across. And the more rows higher that you do, the more modest the top will be. The lower you leave the cups, the more cleavage that will be exposed. So you're going to have like a wider V if you like left it down here, and if you want it more closed up, you're going to go up a little bit higher. Okay, so I did 1, 2, 3, 1, 20, which is 3 stitches shorter than I did on the side here for this top. So this is option 1. Like I said, this one's gonna have a little bit more cleavage because you have to think when this top is stretched out, it's gonna look more like this. So there's just a little bit larger of a gap here, and I'm gonna show you a second option which will decrease that gap. Option 2, we're actually gonna use our blue yarn or our colored yarn for this one. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick up our panels, and we're gonna lay them right on top of each other. And we're going to tie on with our blue yarn, and we're gonna go through the bottom loop on this cup and the bottom loop on that cup. So we have both cups on our hook. We're going to focus here, loop our yarn through, and we're going to single crochet. We're going to insert through the next stitch on both cups, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. So we're single crocheting, and we're going through both layers of fabric. So we're going through the first cup and the second cup in the same stitch. So right now I'm going through the 4th stitch on the first cup, 4th stitch on the second cup, pulling up a loop, single crocheting. 5th stitch, 5th stitch, single crocheting. So what we're doing is we're basically like seaming these two together using single crochets. And you could use the white yarn if you wanted for this, but I'm going to show you what it looks like with the blue, and you can decide. It's just because the white wouldn't be, the stripe wouldn't be as wide as it previously had been. But that's just like personal preference on if you wanted to. I just like the way that the keeping with the same color makes it look. Okay. So this is option 2, and as you can see when you stretch this one, there's only like a half row difference between them, not a full 2 rows between the cups. So instead of the cups being like that, they're more like that. And this is just going to offer a little bit more coverage. The only thing is that it just doesn't keep that same pattern going. Like I said, you could use white, and that would mean that this strip right here would be a strip of white. So that is an option too. But I wanted to show you guys both of these and see which one you liked better. I guess I can work it up in white real quick, and I can show you guys what it looks like in white. So hang on for that. Okay, this is what it looks like in white.
As you can see, it's like barely noticeable in the white versus the blue. So it really doesn't matter what color you use. Maybe if you had colors that were like way different, because this is kind of a muted blue and a white, if you had maybe pink and blue, you'd be able to notice it a lot more. But yeah, I just want to get on to showing you guys the next steps, which basically your top is done except for straps. Okay, so I just took a minute to weave in all my ends. And for straps, you have two options. You can make one long strap that goes in here, goes around, goes to your back, and then weaves across here and weaves it closed. I'll see if I can find a picture and insert it. That's how I did my last pink top that I made, was doing it this way. So basically your straps that come up here cross and then they weave together this. You have one strap that basically holds your whole top together. Otherwise you can do straps like here, like halter top straps, two long straps here, and then another tie to lace up the back. I found that I really liked the braided look, where you just take some strands of yarn, I don't know, an arm's length or so, fold that in half. You double your arm length, so you have 2 arm lengths. So with it folded in half, it's like, I don't know, a yard. And then do the same with your blue. And then I'm gonna do actually another white. So you're gonna need 2 of one color and then 1 of the other color. And you're gonna need to do these. You're gonna need, sorry, 2 white and 1 blue. And you're gonna need this for each strap of your top that you have here. So I have 2 white and 1 blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the chain 1 space at the top of my cup. And I'm going to pull it through. And I'm only going to pull it through until about halfway. Just going to let my ends match up. So my ends are going to match up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to braid it. So I'm going to just do 2 white in my blue. And I'm going to braid the strap. And you guys can choose to do some single crochets with this. There are a lot of options you can do. It makes it easier to braid if you put some weight on your top, and then you can pull on it a little bit as you're braiding. I just thought this looked cute. It was different than the normal crocheted straps that I do. Another thing I like about the braided straps is that you can cut off the braided straps at any point. So for example, if you make your straps and they're way too long, simply just cut and re-knot your braid and it's perfectly fine. When you do the chain ones, it's kind of like your best guess on if it's going to be too long or not. Okay, so I have my 2 long straps that I have here, and what I'm going to do is lace them through, and it doesn't matter which holes you choose. So I went into the top one over here, and then I'm going to make sure I do the same thing on this side
into the top one. And then I'm going to take this one and go over here. I'm going to go about a quarter of the way down. So I skipped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I skipped 7 stitches. So with this one, I'm skipping 7 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Going into the 8th. I'm going to go back over here, go about here, which means I'm skipping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. Taking this one and going back over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, going in the 8th, and then going in just the bottom last stitch. So this top that I made here is probably about an AB 32 to 34. And when I was talking about the back, when I said it's better to have less rows than more rows, what I mean is that this gap, obviously you can make it be wider or tighter based on how you need. And obviously you can always go looser with it, but you can't always go tighter because once the fabric hits, that's as tight as you can go. And there is gonna be some stretch. But that's the finished top. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and you make tons of these tops, and I'm really excited to see all the tops that you guys end up making. But thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know.